participation, quality education, or no participation, quality education, or no participation, quality education.
Hello everyone, my name is Allison Conrad, and together with my partners Haley Moore and Gabrielle Smallwood, I have closely followed the APSCUF strike that took place from Wednesday, October 19th through Friday, October 21st of the fall 2016 semester at all 14 universities of the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education, which is also known as PASHE. We are students in Dr. Mo Folk's Social Media Analytics course at Kutztown University and have studied the strike from the perspective of Kutztown students. Before, during, and after the strike, we used a software called Nuvi to help us track the progression of the strike on Twitter, Instagram, and blog posts. We were unable to track Facebook results as they do not have a contract agreement with Nuvi. We programmed Nuvi to track the official hashtag of the strike, which was declared to be #WithAPSCUF on Wednesday, September 28th. We have followed it since that day and observed the evolution of the hashtag as the strike went from a possibility to a reality to a moment in history.
What are your thoughts and feelings about the strike?
Well, I mean, I'm not exactly sure at the moment because I hear a lot of we said, she said kind of thing. I'm kind of concerned. I hear a lot of it's about education, the quality of it, and the teachers are not being treated fairly, so I guess I'm kind of siding with the teachers on this.
It's not something that I want to do, but I think it's something we may have to do just because the Chancellor's vision of what higher education is in this state will degrade the quality of it. I mean, it's not about salaries, it's not about the kind of things that they're saying it is. It's about ensuring that we have a university system where quality education, where students can build long-lasting relationships with professors.
We're at the point where the state system has been after making some fundamental changes to how this university is organized. And there's been absolutely no movement on their side, increasing the teaching load for our temporary faculty at the university from 4 classes per semester to 5 classes a semester, increase the percentage of temporary faculty members on campus by 5% up to 30% of the faculty members. Once you start eating away at what has been the hallmark of these universities, that's the place where it's like, no, we're not going to do that.
What you're seeing are arguments from 2 different sides of the coin. One is about what is necessary for having and creating an informed populace that is not bound by economic paradigms, and the other is just that. So the fight that you're seeing and the collective action that you're getting to watch right now is really more about what it is that we expect from ourselves as a society.
I worry not just about my job, I worry about what this means for, the future of, our citizenship, our democracy.
On October 1st, about 3 weeks prior to the strike, we were able to see a map of the locations where mentions were originating from by using Nuvi. When we compared Nuvi's map with a map of the PASHE schools, we discovered that there was information circulating about the strike through social media almost exactly at each of the 14 PASHE school campuses. Screenshot shows an overview of the pre-strike data that we collected through Nuvi. As you can see, the only main spike that we observed prior to the day before the strike occurred during APSCUF's rally in Harrisburg on October 6th. From 11 a.m. to noon, 90 mentions occurred. At this point, 90 mentions in 1 hour was extremely significant. Finally, #WithAPSCUF seemed to be demanding attention. APSCUF had made it clear that they would call for a strike at 5 a.m. on October 19th if a tentative contract agreement had not yet been reached between the union and the state. From the night of October 18th until the morning of October 19th, or Strike Eve as we like to call it, there were 1,169 mentions of #WithAPSCUF. Many of the mentions were neutral, using social media to inform students of the 14 PASHE schools that the strike would be occurring in the morning. 1,153 of the mentions were posted on Twitter, which accounted for 98.63% of the total mentions analyzed. Instagram covered 1.28% of the 1,169 mentions, which was only 15 mentions in all. Only one blog mentioned the strike, covering 0.09% of the mentions from Strike Eve. Furthermore, Nuvi analyzed the viral coefficient of our mentions. The viral coefficient is a number that measures how viral our hashtag was at given times, and any number greater than or equal to 1 means the hashtag was very viral. On Strike Eve, #WithAPSCUF had a viral coefficient of 3.6, meaning that the mentions during this time period were very viral, with the potential of reaching 266,485 people in one night. These posts also spread through retweets and shares to 431,343 additional people. The action surrounding #WithAPSCUF was certainly amping up as students, faculty, and other concerned citizens anxiously awaited to hear the official news of whether or not a strike would be called at 5 a.m.
Fire the Chancellor!
So we came to social media analytics today, and this is our class. Learning a lot. And how do you feel about the strike today?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that this had to happen, but that we were really in the position where there was no other option.
I feel the strike is important. I feel the administration is part of a system that's nearly privatizing higher education in the state of Pennsylvania. Higher education used to be a dream in PA. I came from New Jersey. Everybody went to Pennsylvania to go to college. Now it's number 48th in support of higher education. So I am totally behind the strike, and I'm totally behind the union.
Nobody wants to be on strike, but the level of support and the turnout has been really uplifting, especially the turnout among students to support us as we are trying to support them.
I think there was an email that was sent out this morning by the administration saying that it was about money, and that really isn't what it's about for us. Like, it's about the fact that they're trying to divide the temporary instructors who have a lot less power than, the more permanent instructors. They're trying to put them on a different pay scale. We feel like that's going to degrade the quality of education.
I want it over. And if the state system wouldn't have walked away from the table last night, if they were actually interested in negotiating instead of requiring us to have a take it or leave it approach, they're saying take essentially their initial package that really hasn't changed much from their initial position, and they keep trying to shove it down our throats. We have more than met them, more than halfway. They want $70 million in savings. We've offered $50 million in savings, and that includes healthcare concessions. We all know we're going to have to pay more for healthcare. We're well aware of that, and we're fine with that, but not at the levels that they wanted.
I believe very strongly that both sides needed to put all the facts out. All the proposals put forward by both sides, so that everyone, students, faculty, administrators, everyone, the members of the community, could make an informed decision as to whether or not the strike was called for, and whether or not the strike should end, what role students and others should play with regard to the strike.
Have you seen anything about the strike on social media?
I have. I posted something today saying that even if you're not a member of the 14 schools that are on strike, you should at least say something like, stand with us, support us, even if it's a general just post on Facebook with the hashtag.
I've posted updates for the most part. I've posted them especially for friends and family who are wondering what's going on.
Yeah, I've seen lots of stuff on social media, especially leading up to this and stuff like that. People say,
I've seen a lot on social media. As a matter of fact, I came up an hour early for my strike time because I was going to get bonkers by being on the social media.
Social media is blowing up actually right now with strike news and photos being shared by faculty, by students, Facebook Live sessions from all over. I mean, just sort of spontaneously erupting.
I haven't been checking my social media.
You have? Yes, I have. I'm on both Instagram and Facebook, and there's been a lot. And I shared on my Facebook, there are a number of links to contact your legislators, contact Governor Wolf, contact Chancellor Brogan, and you can do that by Twitter, and you can also just call those offices.
The value of the social media in terms of getting the message out is it allows a lot more avenues of information for students other than official press releases and newspaper stories, and it allows individuals to get their perspectives out, which I think is really valuable.
People in the university relations area that monitor social media, and they were largely keeping up with what was going on in social media. Quite frankly, I had so many things to do with regard both to the strike situation but also just to the daily running of the university during this period that I didn't go on it very often.
I watched a lot, especially leading up to the strike. I saw I was on the APSCUF website.
We handle social media here in the office, so our web assistant director for web content, Josh Leapoff, was monitoring social media nonstop. So we were trying to, as the university voice, respond to a lot of the concerns that were out there, in particular on Facebook and Twitter.
What programs do you guys use to observe social media?
I think they use TweetDeck and Hootsuite and some of those other programs to kind of monitor what's happening and get analytics and stuff like that.
The strike became official at 5 a.m. on Wednesday, October 19th. From the moment the strike began through its resolution, #WithAPSCUF reached 2,424,406 people and spread to an additional 3,839,732 others. Now that the strike had finally occurred, these numbers had skyrocketed from previous days. Within this time span, #WithAPSCUF was mentioned 10,807 times on Twitter, 472 times on Instagram, and in 24 blogs. Although the viral coefficient was exactly 1 during this time period, the hashtag was obviously extremely viral, as this was the first time it had reached or spread to millions of people at once. On Friday, October 21st, a tentative contract was agreed on at last between the state system and APSCUF, thus bringing the strike to an end. On this day, between 4 and 5 p.m., an astounding 1,591 mentions occurred within just 1 hour as news of the strike resolution spread like wildfire. This was the largest peak in mentions during our time observing #WithAPSCUF. After this, mentions of the hashtag immediately began to die down throughout the social media platforms we were observing, the main one still being Twitter, with 96.09% of all mentions. Between the resolution of the strike and the first day of post-strike classes on Monday, October 24th, mentions of the hashtag were extremely viral, with a viral coefficient of 9.2. #WithAPSCUF was reaching 1,269,485 people and spreading through retweets and shares to 1,594,104 additional people. Over 78% of the mentions of the hashtag were positive and supportive of the faculty who were on strike, showing that APSCUF was able to maintain as well as gain more support using social media and the hashtag in which they created. It is important to note that the top influencer during this time was APSCUF itself, with 9,765 followers. Obviously, their posts of excitement about the tentative contract and the end of the strike added to the positivity that was measured by Nuvi. From what we could see on social media, people on both sides of the strike seemed pleased to have a tentative contract in hand and to get faculty back in the classroom teaching. Overall, the data we collected between the day #WithAPSCUF was officially created through the week following the strike, the hashtag reached 2,618,943 people. Though there had been spikes in mentions during the time we had been collecting data, such as the first day of the strike, where mentions were extremely viral, the overall viral coefficient was exactly 1. This means that, though the mentions had a large amount of reach and spread, the amount of mentions that occurred during the spikes balanced out the lesser amount of mentions that occurred when the hashtag was not frequently being used. In total, posts using the hashtag spread to an additional 5,168,712 people over the course of the month, and there were 14,809 total mentions of the hashtag, not including its uses on Facebook. Ultimately, judging by the amount of people who used or even saw #WithAPSCUF, it appears that the union received the support that it hoped on social media. Over the course of 1 month from the creation of the hashtag until the aftermath of the strike, the trending keywords from posts using #WithAPSCUF display how social media has impacted the support for APSCUF. These keywords also show what the main concerns had been during the strike. The most mentioned keyword during this time was students, which made up 12% of the overall trending keywords. The second was a tie between APSCUF, tentative agreement, and the phrase ends strike, each holding 11% of the keywords. These keywords, like tentative agreement and ends strike, speak to the fact that the greatest spike during the entire strike was when it was resolved. The last trending keyword that should be mentioned is faculty, being 10% of the trending keywords. It is important to see that the word students was more frequently used than the term faculty, even though faculty contracts were what were ultimately being negotiated. This speaks to the frequently expressed idea that, while faculty were obviously fighting for fair contracts for themselves, they also wanted the new contract to be fair to students as well. The main user profiles of people or businesses who are producing information containing #WithAPSCUF. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that all of the influence scores listed are in the upper 60s or higher. Given that an average influence score is in the low 40s, it is impressive that the top 10 hashtag influencers greatly exceeded the average scores. Furthermore, the profiles with the most reach contain many news organizations such as WGAL, ABC 27 News, M-Call, which is the Lehigh Valley's The Morning Call, and CBS 21 News, showing that the strike caught the attention of these organizations. This also shows that much of the information going around social media about the strike originated from valid sources. Interestingly enough, the top 2 profiles with the most reach were not news organizations. The top profile was Mac Cocktail, an alcohol enthusiast from New Orleans, who had a reach of 311,949. The second greatest influencer was Mark_Perone, who is the president of a 1.3 million member union with a reach of 112,944. Notably, neither of these influencers were from Pennsylvania, meaning that word of the strike was not only heard by Pennsylvanians, but residents of other states as well. For this project, we knew that we wanted to study the strike, but we could only follow one main hashtag. We chose to track hashtag with APSCUF because it was specifically created for the strike, and it proved to be a great case study for us because it was not a pre-existing hashtag. Though our main focus was on hashtag with APSCUF, we want to make it clear that we did not select the hashtag for biased reasons, and we sought to provide analysis over opinion through our research. Therefore, we decided to observe the usage of hashtag PASHI during the same time period of the strike, though hashtag PASHI had been in existence for some time, making the assumption that most posts using this hashtag would be concerned with the strike over that time period. Again, since one hashtag existed prior to the strike and the other did not, these hashtags cannot be completely analyzed the same way. That being said, we noted that hashtag PASHI was not mentioned nearly as much as hashtag with APSCUF between the creation of hashtag with APSCUF through a week following the strike. PASHI being mentioned 4,339 times, while hashtag with APSCUF was mentioned 14,809 times. Hashtag PASHI reached 1,173,840 people and spread to an additional 1,214,867 in that time period. Since the hashtag spread to a few more people than it initially reached, its viral coefficient was only 0.9, still making it viral but not extremely viral. Ultimately, both hashtag with APSCUF and hashtag PASHI reached and spread to millions of people, helping to encapsulate the strike as an important event in Pennsylvanian educational history.
Look, I think social media played a really important role. Our hashtag with APSCUF was trending quite a bit during the strike, but more importantly, for me at least, the images and updates posted throughout the strike were morale boosters for all of us. In a very real sense, we got to feel solidarity across all 14 campuses, and that's not an easy task. We posted pictures of students walking the picket lines with us, of faculty carrying picket signs, the daily work all of us were doing. You can't underestimate how important that is in sustaining such a large action across 14 very different universities. That's a really monumental task that that I'm telling you, social media played a huge factor in.